So I went into, actually I did this in Aspire. I took these fish, and you can actually take a 2D drawing, and you can make a profile out of that 2D. So I basically take like a dome. I take the profile, I say, take that profile and make a dome between the two. And I said for the fins, I said just give me a straight slot down. And I made a bunch of different koi fish. And because my motto is anything's worth doing is worth overdoing.
It's true.
Travis knows. Travis totally knows. I decided that wasn't enough. So what I did then was I took these fish models, and that's when I did the slice I was talking about. I sliced the fins, the body of the fish, and then the top fin into 3 different models. So that allowed me to actually cut these 3 things in 3 different kinds of wood. So you can see, here we go, there's a good example of it.
Oh my gosh.
So zebra wood, maple, canary wood, walnut, and then there's one other, I'm not even sure what here. But yeah, so basically I made these into 3D. So my idea was to take one of these cookies and make it like a real river table. So cut a river down the middle or whatever, pour clear epoxy, pour a base, clear epoxy, put the fish in, more clear epoxy. So I didn't really want to just do square canyons. I thought that was totally boring. I mean, a real river table, you're not going to see that anyway. You're going to see some kind of features and some kind of thing. So everybody that's been to Kauai has probably seen their version of the Grand Canyon. So I took a picture of that and I made a profile. If you were looking at that, if you took basically cut off one of these mountains or ridges vertically, what would be the profile? And Tim, what was his last name? He used to be Digital SIG.
Tim
Peachy.
Peachy.
We all know Tim. Yeah, you visited him recently.
Yeah, just I was up there in September.
Yeah.
Tim showed me one really, really cool thing when we were doing another project called sweeping. And it sounds a lot more complicated than it is, but what you do in a sweep is you take a profile. Oh, that's a good example. You take a profile.
So that's going to be a uniform contour around the entire vertical?
Exactly. So here's a good picture.
There we go.
So if I look at this, what I did was I took my profile, which is just a bunch of lines, and I cut a outline, and then I had the software sweep the profile around the edge of the outline. So that gives me a more realistic looking lake side. Okay. Then, actually, this is my friend. This is her cookie, so she was working on that. That's a whole other topic about cutting these things. So you can kind of see where I was doing experiments and getting different levels. That was kind of overkill on the too many different profiles. That's why the topo thing was interesting to me today. So you can see now I have my final cuts here. You can see as it progresses. Now it's time to get what color epoxy do I want to do this. Epoxy is just incredible. It's a whole new world that I learned so much about doing this thing. You can do really cool looking designs. So I figured, what do I want the bottom of my lake to look like? So what I did was I took a 1/2 inch of mica. Mica basically has little flecks of metal in it, so you can actually do designs. Really, really cool. So I took mica and I said, okay, what's it going to look like against the fish? What's it going to be like for the bottom of my pond? So I did that. And then I wanted blue. I was testing to see if I liked blue, which I didn't really like. And I'll speed up because I don't know how to type. And then this is somewhere I got in trouble. This is where I actually got in trouble being too anything that's worth doing minded. I said, I'm going to fill all these edges in with like a really cool green epoxy, which looks really neat, but 2-second epoxy class, long pour or deep pour epoxy is like water. So I figured, I'll take plumber's putty, I'll down all these guys up, I'll pour my green, and life will be good. So I watched the Blacktail actually did a video on how to do these things. He said, it's really, really, really watery, so you're going to have leaks. I said, no, man, I used plumber's putty. I took way a lot of time to do these. Poured it all. you should have seen me trying to pour that down with all the holes. So that was a lesson learned. I would do it differently next time. I can't say exactly how. But anyway, I also found my new best friend, the Dremel tool. I've never used a Dremel, and being able to take that, I actually bought a ceiling-mounted one with a foot pad, and I was able to actually carve whatever shape I wanted these edges to be. I left the top level with the top, but I actually was able to carve all of the different corners and stuff. Then the pour came. Sorry if I'm going way too long. Okay. I did the quarter of epoxy on the bottom. I tried to do all these really cool looking swirls, but unfortunately I did a little bit too soon in the curing, and it just kind of made this swoosh. But actually it looked like water, so I didn't mind how it turned out. So then I put the fish in after a clear epoxy, which is incredible. It's glass. You basically cannot tell that there's anything. You can't even tell it's epoxy. It's just absolutely amazing. Put the fish in, polished it, did one coat, and I was going to do all these different finishes. Then I said, I'm just going to pour epoxy on this wood and see what it looks like. And oh my God, it's just, you can see the grain is just absolutely phenomenal. Then I went to a place called Flowy Line and bought some legs. And then, yes, that's a fun part.
Amazing. And here's the tragedy, as I saw it. You finished it. You finished it a week or two after the entry dates closed for design in wood. Wouldn't this be a natural, right? Wouldn't this be amazing to put in there?
And here's really the thing I'm trying to get across with this. Yeah, it's cool and the epoxy, but I did as much CNC. Oh, sorry. I did as much CNC on this. That was half of the effort. At least half of that, more than half. You take a river table. Okay, you cut some holes, you pour some epoxy, you sand it and drill it. No, that is a CNC. This is what's capable of if you really get into this and really kind of think about the details. And after you've done it, you kind of look back and it's like it's not. There's some things you have to learn along the way, but it's not that difficult. Any of you could do this. So.